Hi, I'm Felicia.
And I'm Ryan. And this is Imzadi Podcast. And we're doing Flux Part 2. War of the Sontarans.
Ooh.
Doctor Who!
And the war on the Sontarans.
Yeah, that one.
Of the Sontarans.
On the Sontarans.
Of them, whatever.
On the Sontarans.
They don't care.
On the Sontarans character
they
portrayals.
They just want war, man.
They do. What is it good for?
Horses.
I feel like if you asked a Sontaran that, they would just say war.
Yeah, I know.
And then they would shoot you.
They would just be like, what do you mean, girl? So should we start out with the forest?
If you watched our previous episode, before we do that,
okay. All right.
We was going to give ratings at the end of the episode, and we didn't bother. And now we're going to give our ratings of that episode, so that for continuity's sake, because continuity is everything. So, the original ratings, I believe I gave it a 6, but like a good 6, and then you gave it like a 4, but like a low 4.
Yeah.
What was your opinion of the end of Flux Part 1?
Still a very low 4, yes.
I kind of drifted down to a 4 as well. I had quite a lot of problems with it.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it did. And now we're going to talk about this one. When I first watched this one, this is the second time we've seen it.
Yes.
I had a bit of a sugar high from an episode that wasn't boring, and I kind of tricked myself into liking this more than I should have. On reflection, it's quite mediocre in a lot of ways. There's good stuff in it.
Yeah.
But there's stuff that drags it down as well, and you've got to take it all into consideration.
For sure. So yeah, do you want to start with the forest?
Oh, what, the thing at the beginning, her little vision, yeah?
Yeah, the black and white scene.
She shows up and she's in a desiccated forest, and she looks up and there's a weird floaty house. So, here's the thing that is buzzing around right now, is the rumor is that that's meant to be the house from Lung Barrow, which would mean that it's the house that the Doctor grew up in. And the interesting thing, I guess, that people were talking about right now is a concept that was introduced in the Lung Barrow book, which was looms.
The looms.
And if you don't know what looms are, I think you might mind if I take a second to explain what looms are.
Of course, go for it.
So, looms were a concept that was introduced in the novels and such for the 7th Doctor. And what a loom is a device which makes new Time Lords. See, Time Lords, you'd think they'd reproduce like any other species, right?
Yeah.
Nah. What they do is they get fully created as adults. So, William Hartnell was born as a fully grown man. It's just born as fully grown William Hartnell. But also not, because he wasn't the first Doctor anymore. Thanks for that, I guess. But so yeah, that's the general idea. And I'm wondering, because the Brain of Morbius thing, the Morbius Doctors, the Timeless Child thing was basically a way to make the Brain of Morbius Doctors canon. Is the entire aim of this era just to make a load of weird fan theories canon?
I'm not sure.
Is the War in Heaven going to be canon next? Is alien bodies going to be canon? Is all-consuming fire going to be canon? Do it! I say do it, because why not?
The part that I think about is when she comes back from it.
Yeah.
And, she says it's the end of the universe. And does she mean that literally or figuratively? Like it's a symbol of the end of the universe, or was she at the end of the universe? What does that house represent really?
I think that they needed a dramatic line. And that was probably just there in the first draft. No one elaborated on it.
Yeah, not yet. We only had a glimpse of the house. We don't know what the point is. That's the whole point of this, is speculation.
There are actually a few points in this episode where it seems like they're just reading like the stage direction notes rather than actual dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Something that tickled me quite a bit. It reminds me of the 90s Hercules show.
Yeah.
The guy when when evil Hercules is just like, this isn't my world. Disappointed. I love that, and I feel like there's a couple of moments in this episode which unfortunately are a bit like that.
Yeah.
To me. And it's a problem that you actually brought up, which is the Chris Chibnall stating the obvious method of writing.
Yeah, I don't think he gives enough credit to his audience, and it is insulting, yes.
A bit. Yeah. I'm trying to be diplomatic, but it's also true.
Yeah, I can't look away from it. I don't know. Every time everything is being explained to you, every scene, every action. It's just...
Yeah. It's a bit painful. It really
yeah.
is. I think what I'd like to talk about is an extension of what we talked about in the last episode.
Okay.
Which was what you were talking about the key jangly classic Who implementation.
Yes.
Let's talk about the Sontarans. Let's dig right into our potato boys.
Yeah, lumpy potatoes.
Yeah, let's roast some fucking potatoes. Okay.
Ooh. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Oh. Naughty
okay.
Word. Anyway, okay. Let's roast some. Yeah. Let's roast some potatoes. Okay, so I think that the Sontarans in this episode are portrayed alright. Just alright, though.
Yeah.
I liked them the first time I watched it. The second time, I kind of noticed the cracks in it. And here's the thing. The general consensus among fans is that these guys are meant to be like a return to form of like the classic Who Sontarans.
Yes.
What do you think of that as like a classic Who aficionado?
I definitely think their look is a return to form.
Yeah.
I feel like how they're acting is definitely Moffat-esque. But to me, that's okay. I honestly didn't mind these Sontarans.
What I minded about them is that they were portrayed as like stupid.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go all the way with the old Who, then yeah, you make them a little bit smarter.
They're very smart in old Who. Like they this is the thing. Like they invaded Gallifrey and stuff. And if you watch the Sontaran Experiment, or you watch like the original, like the Time Warrior, the Sontarans' goal in their interactions with Earth and humans is gathering military intelligence. And that's something that would have been really interesting to carry over into this episode, as to something that this episode actually, I feel, falls apart on really strongly, which is motivation for the villains. The Sontarans have a really weak justification for going into the Crimean War and like other time periods. It was very funny when he said he wanted to ride that horse. I'll give you credit for that. But what the other things that he says, he's like, the competition, whatever. You know what I mean? Like generic conflict terms. But what if I ask you, what if they're going into all those different time periods because they're trying to gain as much tactical information from the humans as possible, because as a planet that they've never actually managed to conquer, that information would be valuable to them.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's a part of it. But I mean, I just like they want to conquer Earth.
Yeah,
like,
but they've already conquered Earth. They've won.
There's not.
That's
a
what
lot.
I'm saying. Like.
Well, obviously they don't feel like they have.
Yeah, because I'm saying that's dumb. Like they've already conquered Earth. They've landed ships. There's a technological gap that's so vast that it can't possibly be breached, even in the 21st century, let alone the period in like the past. So the only reason they would have to gain from going into the past of Earth is to gather information for scientific purposes. And I think if you clearly have that be their main intention, it makes them a lot smarter. It makes them seem tactical. It makes them seem like they actually think through their decisions on a long term and are good at war. Because the Sontarans should be good at war.
They should be. I agree.
And they're really bad at war in this.
I think because of their stupidity, like, that's what makes them bad at war. Like, because New Who Sontarans are kind of bad at war.
Well, the ones in the Moffat era, the first time they showed up, they weren't.
Oh.
They were very smart. When they showed up with David Tennant in the Sontaran stratagem.
Oh, yeah.
And the Poison Sky, that was very, very... And they were actually losing the war against the Rutans, so that was them on the back foot and desperate. Mm-hmm. And they managed to come up with a really, really good plan to subdue Earth that would have worked if the Doctor hadn't intervened.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Even though they're like they're not even portrayed very humorously in it. There's a couple of jokes here and there, they're peppered in, but like, nah. Mm-hmm. It's a completely different portrayal to this. And even like the Moffat Sontarans, there's no Moffat Sontarans, there's Strax. Strax is an idiot.
Yeah,
and the reason why, but here's the thing, the reason why Strax is an idiot is because he was resurrected, and he was resurrected wrong. Okay. So he has brain damage. That's why he says weird off-the-wall stuff. It's not just because he's a Sontaran. It's because he's got like stuff wrong with his head.
Okay.
Basically. So that's not that becoming like the default way of Sontarans are seen as kind of flanderization. I think the biggest mistake Moffat made is when he brought back the Sontarans for Maximus' final episode. He made them like Strax. I think that was a huge error.
I think so too.
I think with these Sontarans, them looking more grizzled and them being more menacing, which is what they're supposed to be, is undercut by having Dan running through the Sontaran ship. Knocking them out with the walk.
I noticed they use comedy too much in places, and it sacrifices a lot in the story.
It really does.
And like, I don't want it. You know, like if it means less of a story, then I don't want Dan in his walk. Like,
let's actually draw some comparisons between this and like all of the rest of Who, because it literally is all of the rest of Who. How is humour implemented in all of the rest of Who compared to this? I would argue that in classic Who and New Who, humour is used to characterise. Humour is used to tell you more about the person delivering the humour or how the humour's developed.
Yeah.
Okay? In this, humour is used when they aren't confident enough that a dramatic moment can land on its own. And I think that is something that was picked up from the Marvel movies, because the Marvel movies do that a shocking amount.
Yes, yeah, they do.
And it feels fake. It feels fake and corporate and hacky, and I hate it. I hate it. I hate that I've been defending this, and I feel like I've been duped. Do you ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people feel that way as well, and that's part of the anger towards Chibnall's era.
It is quite bad, and it's a shame because because there's so many people who have like a toxic level of anger towards this run of the show, I feel bad saying that it's bad.
Yeah.
But it is bad. It's bad for completely different reasons than a lot of people say it's bad.
The one good thing I will say about this episode is Mrs. Secor.
Oh, she's a boss bitch.
Yeah.
She just looked at me like very shocked that I said that, but I mean, for real.
No, I mean, I agree full-heartedly.
Yeah. It just took you by surprise,
yeah? You just gotta try and use different words, I guess.
See, that's how humour works. It characterised me. It characterized me as someone who doesn't care about social conventions.
No, yeah, but like even her humor, everything about her,
Mm-hmm.
her outfit, just her role in the story, like everything was used to the fullest with her character.
I mainly just think that's because the actor was really good.
Oh, I think the actor
Very
was really
good.
good
Like
too.
being real, the combination of like her dignified persona and her complete befuddlement at everything that was happening around her was a really, really good combination, and one of the best ways of playing historical characters that I've seen on the show so far.
Well, I would say in Chibnall's...
Nah, generally
Yeah.
I would say one of, not the.
Usually his
But one
historical ones are like the cringy ones for us. I
That-
notice.
And that's weird because I know a lot of people like love them, but being real, like,
Normally I do. I don't mind it.
no, a lot of people love the Chris Chibnall specific historical ones.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
didn't know
yeah,
that.
and I
My
think
bad.
I think that Rosa is insulting in a lot of ways to Rosa Parks. And look a bit more into her history to find out why. We'll discuss that another time, maybe.
Yeah, maybe
not.
we'll cover that episode at
Yeah.
some point.
But my God, that's very problematic. Let's just say that, I think.
Yeah.
And Demons of the Punjab accidentally makes the Doctor a huge bigot and doesn't analyze that fact. So that's pretty rough,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
The Nikola Tesla one is
This is
Once
what
again,
I'm
yeah.
saying, though. This is what I'm saying. It's just nice to see.
yeah, this one was really good.
I'm appreciating her as a character.
The Nikola Tesla one had like a Hallmark TV movie vibe. You know what I mean?
I didn't mind it.
I didn't mind it, but like I did not love it at the same time. It was very pat you on the head.
Yeah.
Do you know, I think they say Nikola Tesla should be more admired and Thomas Edison shouldn't, like 12 times in the entire story. Like it's insane how like
Yeah, they're pushing.
how far the pushing is. Yeah, like that's not even that creative a thing. Do you have any idea how many like Nikola Tesla meets Doctor Who like fanfics there are out there? Do you have any? That's like the first thing you do. That's the thing you do after you decide that your fan-made Doctor should have steampunk goggles.
Speaking of old-timey, I think we should probably move on to our Victorian dude. I think this should have been his first appearance. I think it would have added so much more to his character.
And to the atmosphere of that location too.
And I mean, you can do flashbacks at any point to explain. Well, I mean, you're gonna have to, I guess, at this point to explain who he is and what he's doing.
I know, just him popping up randomly out of nowhere, it would have had like almost kind of a Big Finish, Rob Shearman vibe.
Yeah, that felt very Doctor Who as he's walking down like the Tom Baker corridor.
You know what it reminded me a little bit of? If you just cut the scenes he's in the first episode, like, out of your brain, here's something, Chibnall. You know you love the Seventh Doctor so much. You could have had a scene that would remind people of Ghostlight.
Yeah.
This random person from, like, a period hitherto unknown is talking about stuff that maybe relates to the situation, but maybe doesn't, and then just disappears never to be seen again in the episode. Maybe he'll show up later. Maybe he won't. You have to watch to find out. You could have done that. But now we definitely know that he'll show up because he was in the first episode.
Yeah, he's the get out of jail card. Because right now they're all stuck. And he's the only one there who's free. They don't know about him. So I think obviously that's how he's going to come into play at some point.
Yeah.
It's my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong, but mark my words.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. I don't know how he's going to play into it. personally. We'll find out, but that's
Yeah,
as good
because
a guess
this is
as
a
any.
pretty dire situation with Vendor and Yaz.
Oh yeah,
caught
we're
in
gonna.
there. Like, how do you even get them in there? Like, must have took forever to write that stuff on her head.
Yeah, it must have taken a real long time. Yeah, I would say so.
Wow, and they don't have the robes.
So we're going to talk about this in a bit more detail because there's...
Yeah, in seriousness. Yeah.
In seriousness. Why? 2 questions I would like to ask the people who made this episode.
Okay. 1.
1. Why did you show that Yaz will be fine in the cliffhanger, in the preview for the next episode?
I know. Such shit.
Right, so you...
Oh.
Who cares? Who cares anymore?
I know.
Who cares?
I feel like the kids, like, I'm just like, ooh.
The kids are listening to this. It's all men in their 30s.
No, I meant the kids.
The kids.
Yeah.
The kids. Yes, the kids. So, anyway, enough about the kids. Let's talk about that cliffhanger.
Yeah, sorry about that.
The cliffhanger, the hanger of cliffs. Ooh. So, kind of undermines the stakes when you show that Yaz is going to be fine in the next episode. First thing. Second thing. Alright, so you got a villain who is purple and is being presented as a major built-up threat who is doing a cliffhanger between the first and second part of your installment, and the cliffhanger is him doing a finger snap, and if he does the finger snap, a bad thing will happen.
People will be wiped out of existence, if you will.
Do you think
Turn to ash.
that us as an audience are not going to make that connection?
I want to ask,
Like, for real,
Oh my goodness.
For real. No, do you
I know this bothers you.
It really does, because, like, you're not going to do something better than the snap. You're not going to top that, especially with something we know is going to have no consequence, because we saw that they're fine in the next episode preview. So, why do it? If you, like, being real, Marvel owns snaps now. Like, I'm sorry, you're not, unless you can genuinely come up with a way to top the snap, like, don't have a finger snap related, like, cliffhanger in your big scale sci-fi show. If you're doing something like Law and Order or something, and you've got the serial killer of the week, that's fine. You know what I mean? But in something like this, that is unforgivably derivative.
Yes.
Rant over. I'm sorry. That really bothered me.
No, it's okay. You gotta get it out.
It's not even like that it was that. It's that after a second I thought about like what that meant that the creator thought about the audience.
Yeah, bringing it back to my point again, yeah.
Yeah, that's what bothers me about it. Not that they did a snap and that's like Marvel. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, news alert, the writer is a hack. I don't know. That's something that's been pre-established at this point. I don't care anymore.
Okay.
I'm broken. 2 episodes in. And
Hot takes.
I tried so hard to be optimistic. I tried so hard to like come at this with a fresh perspective and be open-minded, but it broke me in like 2 episodes. And you know the worst part is these episodes aren't even egregiously bad. Like, they're bad. But like, they're...
Find it.
Alright, there's no Nazi moment. There's no moment where the 13th Doctor throws a person of colour to the Nazis. Like what happened in the previous season. So, all the stuff that's there that is bad isn't even, like, interesting to dissect.
Really?
Yeah. I think so. I think that this is, like, there's nothing that, like, has that like, borderline offensive in its stupidity range of thinking that was in the previous 2 seasons. This is just very mediocre Doctor Who.
Do you want that to come back?
No. I mean, as like, I mean, kind of. I don't know. What is wrong?
I don't know.
What is wrong with me? What has this turned me into?
I'm not sure.
Jeez, man. Oh, sort it out, Chibbers. Just sort your life out, I guess. I don't know what's wrong.
I want to backtrack a little bit.
Please do.
To the Sontaran prisoner. So, spoiler alert. Towards the end of the episode, we learn that they need to recharge their suits every 27 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So how did that Sontaran prisoner live? How long was he imprisoned there?
Okay, here's another thing. You were talking about, Mary Seacole says that he recharges himself. So there are 2 contradictory pieces, like you said.
Yeah.
Like explanations.
Well, no, he doesn't recharge himself. He
heals himself.
Yeah, he heals himself.
But that would require the fluid, because the fluid is what they use as, like, nutrients and stuff.
I'm sure they would have taken everything off of him.
I'm not disputing what you're saying. It is a ridiculous plot hole.
Yeah,
it's pretty bad.
It seems like they can't live without the suits themselves being full of their own environment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long he was there, but it was long enough for her to notice that he does this every 27 hours. He, like, sleeps or does whatever he does.
You know what I just thought about that I didn't think about before?
What?
We've actually seen, you know, when the Doctor's like, not an ounce of bloodshed.
Yeah.
We've seen what happens when the Sontarans don't get their fluid.
Yes.
In the Sontaran experiment. If you don't know, if you haven't seen the Sontaran experiment, here's what was in store for those. Oh my god, there is one! There actually is a horrible, dodgy moment in this episode. Thanks, babe.
No problem.
There's a horrible, morally dodgy moment in this episode, just like in the rest.
There's a bunch in this episode.
Okay, well, here's one that I just noticed, and you can tell me about the other ones, so I can freak out about those 2. Right.
Okay.
So, the Sontarans that are gonna, like, be peacefully starved out.
Yeah.
They're all gonna die very quickly. And a very painful and disgusting and humiliating death by, like, the millions because of what the Doctor did if they weren't blown up, right? Because what happens when a Sontaran doesn't get their fluid is they start to deflate from the inside out. They literally turn into, like, a flat potato.
Delicious.
Mm-hmm. So, they get turned into potato soup. So, that's what was in store for them if they weren't blown up. So, well done, the Doctor.
Well, no, I figure their ship has their atmosphere.
It's not their atmosphere, it's the fluid they need to do that. If they run out...
She didn't take that away.
Yes, she did.
She just, took away the breathy stuff. The atmosphere.
Well, then they choke.
Yeah, if they were outside of their suits, which means they couldn't leave their ship. It means they had to retreat and fix their stuff or whatever. Get more, I don't know, more gas.
Okay, but, like, that opens up a whole new... Either way, there's, like, a whole new line of problems there. Because if that's the case, then that just means the Sontarans are stuck on their ships. Their warships, which have weapons which can probably, like, crack the planet Earth like an egg. And now they've got a motivation to do that.
I'm not not sure.
Because now the Doctor is on Earth, so there's a reason to just blow Earth away and take out a very, very high-level enemy. And this place that at the end of the day, you're only invading out of spite. You're only invading this planet because they bruise your ego. So what better way is there to kind of cleanse from that and get some closure as a species than just turning it into dust? Mm-hmm. Which is what you'd be motivated to do if you can't leave and you're stuck inside a warship.
Either way, those other Sontarans died, didn't they? The ones in the present time?
Yeah. They did. That's another thing as well. Like,
they just got sent back and an explosion happened. Some guy off screen's just like, what?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, the one that happened in the past, a character you're not supposed to like killed those Sontarans. Yeah. So that's bad. Carvanista killed the Sontarans in the present. That's good. That's fine because he killed them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because there's no evidence of it.
If
you don't see it, it didn't happen.
I'm sure that a counter-argument that would be made against that is that the Sontarans were retreating against the Lieutenant General dude, and that's what makes that bad. Like, attacking and retreating an opponent is like a war crime.
Yeah.
But, I mean, flying a structure into a bunch of upright structures and knocking them down.
Yeah, I know.
That's generally not considered a good thing to do either. So I don't want to hear that argument.
Yeah, I don't think they made it.
It reminds me of I was arguing about once again the Nazi moment with people a while ago. I was talking to people about it, and one of the justifications people heard, because I think it's insulting to people who lived through World War II to see that on screen.
Yeah,
I think that's disgusting, right?
Okay.
And I have heard people who like that episode say, well, that's a small price to pay. I don't like where defending this show pushes people's moralities, if it pushes them to that.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that once this gets brought up and talked about in the wider fandom, some very dodgy justifications are going to come out. For some of the,
it's going to be some conversations you're going to have on Facebook.
It's going to be some conversations that are going to be going through, everywhere, though.
Yeah.
I think so. It's very, very negatively responded to. A lot of those things. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this one. Once it's got time to, simmer. Because a lot of these things you have to stop and think about. What other stuff were you thinking about? On the morality side of this episode?
I mean, them blowing up the Sontarans, present day, was the big one. Because, like you said, it's okay in one instance and it's not in another.
Mm-hmm. So you don't really have the place to moralize and rip off the 10th Doctor's first episode?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which was very... I thought that was very... Because that, at the end of the day, is also a reference to your favourite Doctor.
I do want to...
Right, babe?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
What
are you talking about?
When the 10th Doctor... In the 10th Doctor's first episode, when the Sycorax ship is retreating, Harriet Jones, MP, you know who she is.
Obviously.
She It's a joke.
Oh. That's funny.
Because people say we know.
No, yeah, I got it. I got it. Now.
Yeah, it's very thank you. It's very funny.
Sorry.
I'm a very funny person.
Someone else will laugh at that. You won't hear it.
Someone will laugh. Someone's hopefully laughing at this.
Yeah, someone's laughing right now.
I doubt anyone would switch off because they're 34 minutes deep into this, and at this point you're in.
Yeah, it's only a couple more minutes. Hold out. It's all right.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Well, because I want to talk about one more thing before we.
All right, so I want to just wrap this point.
Yeah, wrap up what you're saying.
It's all right because it's going to strengthen whatever you have to say next. Because the thesis of all of this is that this is terrible. This is all terrible. Now we're going to talk about the derivative kind of terrible.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so the scene where she calls out the Lieutenant General for blowing up the retreating Sontaran ships is a lift of the scene where David Tennant chews out Harriet Jones for blowing up the Sycorax retreating ships, right?
Yeah.
Which was a reference and a recontextualization of a scene in the Third Doctor story, The Silurians, where the Brigadier blows up a Silurian enclave.
Okay, yeah, I remember.
And she's like, they were an intelligent alien race. That's murder.
Yep.
Okay, here's the thing. The 10th Doctor one is acceptable because it's creative, because they're creating a new context, okay? Mm-hmm. Not only are they using that to portray that the 10th Doctor has a huge vanity problem because they're willing to turn around and do that, they're also showing that he's extremely different to 9.
Yes.
As well. And on top of that, it's a different scenario because it's a retreating invader. Right? Attacking a retreating opponent is a war crime. And it's commentary on like post 9/11 stuff as well. Like, there's a lot of war on terror commentary in like Old New Who. Mm-hmm. Old New. That's definitely something we should talk about. We're going to talk about the Slovene.
Yeah.
That's definitely one to cut into at some point. But the point is, that's acceptable and cool. What this is gross hack shit. And the reason why is because you're not recontextualizing anything. It's the exact same scenario. But what all you're telling us is, oh, isn't the 13th Doctor like the 10th? Mm-hmm. You like the 10th Doctor. You should like the 13th Doctor just as much as the 10th Doctor. She's just as good. And like, it's once again insulting.
So I want to pose a question to, I think mainly the audience at this point, because there's no real answer, I guess. Or, I mean, there could be, that's why I'm posing it to the audience. Who is the passenger? No, I really want to know who is the passenger.
Do you know what's crazy? Is I forgot that the passenger was even in the episode. Like
He's the most important character, guaranteed.
Yeah, you think so?
It's always how it goes.
Yeah, in like something that's good, maybe.
Somehow, it's gonna play a big part.
I think maybe, but maybe he'll be waiting. I think you're right, but he'll also be wasted.
I mean, probably. But...
That's what I see.
So yeah, I'm really curious to see or hear or read.
I'm interested.
See.
You know what I'm interested in doing?
I'm going back to it.
Listening to The Passenger by Iggy Pop, which will be a considerably better time. Listening to that 16 times in a row, which would roughly approximate the runtime of this episode, would be a more pleasant experience listening to this episode than watching this episode.
Yes.
It has shattered me to pieces, and I am depressed now. I give it a depressed out of 10. That's my final rating.
Bye.
Yep. Bye.